find it very hard to talk right now. I want to share a little bit about the situation that I'm going through because it's a fucking nightmare and I'm full of rage and anger. And for the first, today is the 30th of May 2020, uh, 22, and it is actually today's Monday, the 30th of May, and since Wednesday I've been against my will in a psychiatric clinic in Germany, and I was doing really well, I would say, until maybe half an hour ago, where it's really interesting that what changed the whole mood. Um, One of the people here, they call it Pfleger, carers or whatever, which is very ironic because they don't give a shit. Um, Yelled at me to turn my music down because it was the midday time to be quiet, and somehow this just flipped the switch, and I was really doing a good effort to keep things tidy, and I just lost it. Broke my keychain, put my keys on there, and yeah, my mood has become very depressive. I wanted to make this video anyway, but yeah, I was actually in a very good mood because even though this is a very difficult situation, I'm learning so many things about how the mind works and how broken the current thinking is and how people conform to the old instead of and do work essentially and live their lives in a way that is totally useless. So I'm pretty pissed, and I thought I'm going on reflection of like what got me in here. I guess I can share that first. There's a couple of different events. I don't actually remember all the details simply because the events following were so traumatic that certain things, um, let's say unimportant details, are not available to me right now. I may update these later. But the short end of the story is I was wanting to play football with some people at the park, some adults, and one of them was really cool. He wanted me to be on his side, and the other people didn't want me to join. And I remember being in I'm learning to be more, how do I say this, more of a fighter, and not to just avoid all the conflicts and not to always just um, let other people's needs and desires overpower, but to stand up and have a voice. So I said like, hey, what are you guys scared or something along these lines. I remember saying that. I don't remember the connection point, but somehow I was like, well, should I take my pants off or what? And um, I actually did it. I took my pants off, and the goalkeeper who wanted me to play on his team um, was like, "Hey man, come on, that's not cool. It's like children here and stuff. And put your pants back on." So I might have been 10, 15 seconds maximum without pants on, and I put my pants on, and in that time, someone had one of I think I don't know actually who it was. I think it was one of the people on the team called police. I was having a bit of a difficult day before that, so I was acting out a little bit, let's say socially, but I wasn't causing anyone any harm. I believe one thing that they also wrote down, the police, is that I touched somebody on the head. I think I was in a playful type mood and kind of irritated at the German culture and people, and yeah, kind of like in a teasing, playful mood. And I think I ran past, and some of the people who were kind of judging me or whatever, I was just like, fuck you guys. Um, Let me take up some space now, instead of always putting myself in the corner. And yeah, I was probably a bit cheeky, but anyway, so I had a bad experience last October, a really traumatic experience with the police, where my flatmate, she and her husband had been abusing their child, and I didn't know how to deal with the situation. And my attempts at talking about the situation to her always ended up with nothing being done. And I was very concerned about this child and his health. And I had recently, at the time, and again, this is around October, November, September, something like this, last year, 21, I had, yeah, unlocked a little bit more of the access to my anger through doing some work, self work or therapeutic work, whatever you want to call it. And I decided, look, like this is the time to use this energy. It's okay to be frustrated and angry. I don't always have to be calm when I'm communicating with people, especially if it's to do with children. So let me try this experiment of being a little bit more aggressive and annoyed when I'm talking to her, because normally the situation of talking with her son would somehow annoy her, then I would just drop it. And so this got out of hand. I believe she was fearful that I was going to hurt her or attack her, even though this was definitely not the case. And I made effort to try to establish that fact by moving away, sitting on the ground, and even clearly stating, I'm in control of myself. I'm just a bit louder than you. She freaked out and called up the police, saying that my flatmate has recently got out of the clinic. He's having a psychosis, and I'm scared. I don't know if she said I'm scared for my life, but she had a really big breakdown on the phone. So the two policemen get there, and already I kind of tried to have a strategy in place of like, look, I'm going to wait for a friend, call a friend, and be in a neutral zone, so on and so forth. Because I could somehow just intuitively know, based on the way she communicated, that potentially they're going to come and be quite fired up. This happened to be the case, and I was confronted with a policeman who was very disrespectful and just wanted to push his authority onto me. And I had a negative experience where I tried to stand my ground, but eventually I kind of submitted, and there was another confrontation point. They had brought me to my room, like out of the safe zone of the kitchen, where it was just the two of us, the two policemen, policeman, policewoman, and myself. And I decided, like, I didn't want to respect this man who was forcing himself onto me and trying to dictate what I have to do. And so I ended up like spitting on the ground, sort of as a disgust. And this set off he couldn't handle this at all. And I he totally lost it, and essentially assaulted me. And I had during this moment, what really made it quite difficult is I had a injury on my arm, from jiu-jitsu, and I had to override my normal instincts for my nervous system to protect myself from injuries, and allow this enemy to do what he wants with my system. And this felt really wrong, and it's difficult to describe this, but it really felt like I was going into a black hole, and like my whole energy and light source was just going out. And the police lady, she was somewhat okay, and having her around made me feel a tiny bit safer. When she came around to my head, they pushed me onto the ground and had my arm on my back, and that was already hard just to like let go and go into that pain and not to react at all. And the lady turned my head onto the side, and then this side wasn't getting any oxygen. And then she asked me, am I breathing? Am I getting air? And I had to, this triggered my memory of the George Floyd incident, where I realized if I had, or even at the moment, if I did decide to resist, my arm would definitely be in a lot of pain, and probably I would panic, and potentially I could have suffered a similar fate to George Floyd with not a single person around to help or to verify that I was just freaking out, and this man and his incompetence, and this lady as well, I would say, could have potentially killed me. And I started to scream. A friend of mine, I was able to contact him, but unfortunately the police did not want to wait for him to arrive. So I started to scream as loud as I could at the top of my lungs, like I've never done before. I don't know how, it didn't feel actually that long, maybe it was like 2 or 3 times, but after this I was totally exhausted and in a submissive energy. So this incident really traumatized me, and it derailed me for, quite a few months. And I managed to go to Portugal with some friends, and I think we came back maybe 6 weeks ago or so. When I came back, I found out that the police had filed a lawsuit because I offended them. So that's still ongoing, that process, and I don't want to dive into that too much, but that is a background for the trauma and sort of fear, which I'm not even sure if that can really come across in words. But so I was, when the football people said, I don't know, we're going to call the police, I was like, I'm getting out of here. I don't want anything to do with police. Even though I know not all police are like that. So I make it, I walk maybe, I don't know, or run, I think I even ran, I don't remember, maybe it was a couple of 300, 400 meters, sort of like around the corner. And it was really crazy how quickly the police were there. Like the police were, I hear shouting behind me, like stop, stop, and these 2 police officers are running, so I stop. And one of them asked me straight away, have you taken any drugs? And I am all about trust and communication, and already this line of questioning for me was not really on a neutral footing. And so I said, what exactly do you mean? Could you please be a bit more specific? And she didn't want to give me any time of day. And the man started to threaten me. He said, I don't want to deal with this shit, and I'm going to punch you right here if you don't cooperate. And he threatened me with something else as well. I don't remember exactly now, but physical abuse. And the lady, I think she gave me like 1 or 2 sentences And I tried to say, hey, like what is a drug? What is I don't know. Like I don't know exactly what it is you'd like to know. Can you be more specific? Because actually, I'm a rather smart person. And then she said, you're an idiot. You're not a smart person. I said I'm a genius, which I actually believe to be the case. Yeah. Anyway, so she was like, no, you're an idiot, and I started to realize that this is going the same way as before, where these people are going to do what they want with me, and it was so interesting. There was a psychologist beautiful lady who came over at the beginning of this conversation. So she's like, I'm a psychologist, I can help. And they sent her away very promptly, and they told me they're going to call the Germany. I don't know if it's a Rettungswagen or ambulance. They're going to take me somewhere. And this one policeman was just having a grand old time. I don't remember much about the lady, but yeah, I realized, look, they're not respecting me. I'm not going to respect them in the sense of like they're treating me as I'm crazy. So I kind of dissociate a little bit, and I had a mantra kind of going, and I used my imagination of like, because there was some music playing in the background of like, okay, maybe I'm in a concert. So one of the words I kept saying was like wrong song. Like I wanted to listen to Sleepy Fish, but I'm actually listening to now one of my favorite artists. And I said like harder. I kind of like imagined that we were at an orgy and they should be harder. um, what else did I say? Soft. I think I said like slowly, because they were being quite rough and brutal with me, pushing me around and putting handcuffs on me and pushing me to the ground. And so I kept, and even I've had this before as well. Like people in Germany are just very incompetent and don't really understand how to be gentle with people. So I just kept repeating that like slowly, slowly. And I think there's one other thing that I was repeating, but um, so these police, I was kind of this fear and trauma somewhat took over, and I don't remember the people coming, the Rettungswagen people. It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, you have two authoritative people telling these other people, look, we have a man here who's psychotic and he's having problems and we need to take him somewhere, and nothing you do at that point, you're in handcuffs. Even though I actually was really proud of myself the way I stood my ground this time, but I could kind of smell how it was going to go. So next thing I come to my senses and I'm in this ambulance, and I don't know, I can't really see, but I know there's different needles all in my arms. This policeman is there talking and making jokes and telling shit and talking to me as well. 1 second, I think. Hello? So we get to the next memory I have is me. Oh, that was on Wednesday. It's Thursday morning or Wednesday night. I'm not sure. Actually, it was in this room. Very interesting enough, and the reason I know is because there's this weird thing up there, like this weird mirror thing. Um, and they had me. I can. Let me get the camera here. So they had two beds in here at the time. Um, so one bed was over there where all that shit on the floor is, and the other bed I've put there so people would stop coming in here. People don't have a freaking knock. So, and where I am now is where another bed was, and don't let me get sidetracked. There's a lot of really weird. The guy who was staying here was super weird. Yeah, he started masturbating, and I was born into a sect called the Unification Church, and this guy, like I've never met, it's so rare for me to meet people from this, and so he is in this sect, and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on here? And the police had told these people that I had lain on the ground as well, and I had said that I was Jesus, which is silly because if I was going to say that I'm somebody, I'd say that I'm God. So, um, and yeah, I mean, I kind of look like Jesus. I get that a lot, and it's just it's anyway. So this guy had the Messiah complex thing as well, and he kept shouting out, I'm the Messiah, and like, just, oh my gosh. So I actually conversed with him a little bit. But in reflection, I realized like this guy really wasn't pleasant, like kind of trying to disgust me by talking about masturbation and touching himself, and like a really fat, overweight guy. Not that I have anything against weight, but it's kind of someone who's not taking care of himself. And yeah, I felt like he just got off on somehow trying to disgust the person next to me. He didn't actually disgust me, but yeah, on reflection, I was like, well, that wasn't very cool of him to do that. Um, and so I wake up, I'm strapped down, I can maybe on my back. I had some around my waist, there was something in my feet and my hands and my wrists. It's kind of, I have some scratches there, I don't know if they're from the handcuffs. It's also a bit red there, you can see it on the hand. Um, and So I had to stay like that for, I don't know how many hours went by, and eventually they released one of the arms and one of the legs. But I still couldn't turn or anything like that. And then, yeah, the whole time people coming in and I don't know, giving me shit medication. I don't even know what it was. At the beginning, I think I resisted once, but I had no idea like what was going on. It was absurd. Um, and because of the panic and the dissociated state I was in, like I just couldn't really communicate. I think I don't even know if I asked for a phone call. I didn't even believe that they would give it to me. I don't think I did ask. I mean, I was just like fearful for my life. Um, and I don't know. The incompetence of this place is absolutely. So let me show you around this fucking joint. So there's this window here. Most of the rooms actually don't have a window, so I'll get to why I have this room on my own now in a little bit. This is normally the emergent, or like I think the room where people get taken in. So they have this window where you can see the people in their workspace or whatever, and they come in through this door, and that's the door to like the main sort of corridor thing. So I don't know, one of the carers eventually, Friday, I kept asking, can I be released? I want to be released. I want to be released, and eventually he's like, oh, you're not going to do anything, are you? Like, promise, and like whatever. Lets me go, and I go into another room with another guy. And so that was Friday morning. Let me just pause this video because I need to take a break. I'm a bit tired.